The AFE Momentum GT intake that we have here today should appeal to the 2011 and newer 5.7 Charger owners out there looking to go with a premium intake to help deliver more power and better throttle response by increasing airflow by nearly 30% over the factory airbox thanks to the free-flowing design and the oiled filter. Now, the carb-certified AFE intake will certainly not be the cheapest option in the category at nearly $500 to $600, but it will offer an extremely nice build quality and quality components, all backed by a solid 2-year warranty. Now, Advanced Flow Engineering, or AFE for short, is one of those companies out there who continue to raise the bar when it comes to designing and building aftermarket parts for the automotive aftermarket and other applications as well. Now, as the name suggests, they really specialize in things that flow. So obviously intakes like we have here today, but also things like downpipes, exhaust systems, and intercoolers as well, kind of all part of their bread and butter. And all of their stuff is built very well right here in the USA. But let's focus in a little bit more on the Momentum GT intake that we have here on the table today for your HEMI. And the biggie that I like to point out is that you're getting such a high quality sealed enclosure that will really be the best bet for keeping those intake temperatures down and the power up. Listen, we all love the look of the open element style cold air intakes with those filters. Of course, you get the increased noise that comes along with that, the added growl, but typically those systems tend to come at the cost of higher intake air temperatures, which can really be guilty of robbing you of some power, especially when the car is hot or you sit in a lot of traffic in a warm climate. Now, the Momentum GT here, on the other hand, and its sealed airbox and clear window design is still going to deliver an increased growl, as a lot of our customers have mentioned in the review section, but more importantly, it's going to keep those intake air temperatures down. Now, the airbox itself, along with the intake elbow, have both been CAD designed here for a near perfect fit and do feature a heat-resistant molded black plastic and, of course, a little textured black finish. Now, quick heads up here, guys, if you wanted something with a little bit more flash, AFE does offer this entire kit in a bright red finish instead. You can find that here on the site, of course, and if you're the type of HEMI owner out there that's got a lot of red going on under the hood, that is certainly something to look into. Now, inside that airbox, you will find the Pro 5R oiled filter. It's shown here in blue today, guys. Now, the Momentum, and more specifically that airbox, was designed in a way to accommodate one of the largest filters possible to allow for maximum airflow, and that's exactly what they did. Guys, this filter is 9 inches tall, massive oval opening here, of course, and the filter does feature a 5-layer build, cotton gauze material covered in a light oil. Now, typically, oiled filters will outflow a dry filter by a very small margin, thanks to using a more free-flowing design that relies on that oil to capture the dirt and particles, as opposed to maybe a tighter knit cotton or synthetic material like you'd find with those dry filters. Again, the difference is very minimal altogether, but I do like pointing that out. Also like pointing out, traditionally an oiled filter, yes, it might require a little bit more maintenance after cleaning and re-oiling. However, they do typically outlast those dry filters as well. But coming back to the numbers and the performance, and the proof really is in the pudding here, guys. AFE states that this system with the oiled filter in place is going to outflow the stock airbox and filter by 27%, which is very impressive, and does beat the AFE dry filter Momentum system here on the site by about 7%. So again, that goes to show you oiled filters have a little bit more of a flow advantage. Now, this does lead to advertised gains, by the way, with the oiled system that we have here today. AFE is claiming 14 horsepower, 14 pound-feet of torque over that factory airbox. Again, always nice to point out what the manufacturer's gains are claimed here in this case. Now, last but not least, guys, the AFE has been carb certified, meaning HEMI owners in tough states like California can bolt this thing up and go without the fear of any repercussions. Now, the AFE does not require the use of any custom or can tuning, and everything does come needed to get the system in place rather easily. Now, moving into price point, guys, and again, as we mentioned earlier, the AFE is certainly not the most budget-friendly system in the category. In fact, far from it. Coming in around that low $500 price point certainly is going to be more of a premium option especially when you start weighing this against other options in the category from K&N, AEM, or Engine. Now, at the end of the day, again, you're not finding a whole lot of sealed options, sealed enclosure options on the site. That certainly will help contribute to a more expensive price at the end of the day, whereas a lot of those other systems I mentioned, K&N, AEM, Engine, they all use that exposed filter design. So if you really want the benefits of an enclosed filter and enclosed air box, you might have to pay a little bit more in this case. All right, let's switch gears and talk about the install here, guys, briefly. Site's gonna call this one a pretty mundane 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. About an hour to complete from start to finish using some pretty basic hand tools. But now we're gonna throw it out to the guys in the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown. Check it out.
The tools you'll need for this project are a ratchet, an 8mm and an 11mm socket, a flathead screwdriver, a pair of side cutters, and a sharp knife. Hi everyone, today we're installing a cold air intake on our charger, but first, let's watch a short video on how to uninstall the stock intake. All right, so let's get this engine cover off of it first, and that'll give us access to everything else underneath. Now we can disconnect our mass airflow sensor here and loosen the clamp on our throttle body clamp using our 8mm socket. All right, so to disconnect our mass airflow sensor, is going to press the release clip on the plug and pull it out. Now we can loosen our clamp using our 8mm socket. Now we can disconnect our breather hose from the engine and take out this bolt here using our 8mm socket that holds our air box in. Now we can disconnect our air inlet tube from the throttle body and lift the whole thing out in one unit. And before we can actually install our new system, there's a few things we need to take off of our old system to be able to transfer over to the new system, and then we can install it. First thing we're going to do is remove this grommet here that is used for the mounting of the air box to the charger itself. Once we get that done, then we're going to transfer over the PCV hose, and then finally we'll transfer over the air intake sensor. So to transfer over this grommet, we're going to use a flathead screwdriver and we're going to pry up and remove the metal shell that's on the inside of the rubber grommet. And then we'll remove the grommet. We'll just stick our flathead screwdriver underneath the edge of the metal shell. Go ahead and pull it out. And then we can go ahead and remove the rubber grommet. Next thing we're going to do is remove the PCV hose off of the airbox as well. Now, if it's been on there for a while like ours has, it may be stuck on there pretty good. So again, we're going to use our flathead screwdriver. We're just going to slip it in underneath the edge of it, kind of work it around a little bit, loosen it up, and then we can go ahead and remove the hose. You just want to be a little careful, make sure that you don't tear the hose. Now we can go ahead and remove our air intake sensor. Now to remove the sensor, basically all you're going to do is just twist it until it unlocks. Once it unlocks, you're just going to pull it straight out. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install our mounting grommet in this opening right here at the top of the box. So we're just going to grab the rubber piece, slide it in, then take the metal shell and push that into the top as well. Now once we've got that done, we'll go ahead and insert our air filter. And it's just going to slide in, and there's the little tabs on the inside edge here of the air filter, and that's what's going to lock it into the housing itself. So we're going to slit this in and then just work it around. Make sure that those tabs go on the inside of the shell. And now it's locked into place. And with that being done, we can go ahead and put our PCV hose onto our intake tube, and that's just going to slide on like so. Now, for the air intake sensor, that's going to go on the end of the tube here. And the kit does come with a rubber grommet and a plastic fitting to lock the sensor in. So we'll go ahead and put the grommet in, and you'll notice that it is grooved. So it's going to fit inside this opening here on the end of the tube, and you'll have one piece of the grommet on one side and the other lip on the other side. And just make sure that it's seated properly and smoothly. Then we can go ahead and insert this plastic piece inside the grommet. And it goes in just like so. Then we can just take our air temperature sensor, insert it inside, press it down, and then lock it into place. Next thing we're going to do is install this rubber seal on the bottom edge of our inlet box here. Now we've already done a little bit of the pre-work and determined that this is actually a little bit too long, which is fine. So we've already marked it. We've got about 2 inches to cut off at the end here. So you can just use a pair of snips once you determine the proper length. And just snip through the bottom edge of it here, because there is a metal lining inside the rubber seal. And then you can use your utility knife to go ahead and cut the rest of the seal. Now, once you've got it cut to the proper length, and we can just go ahead and slide the open end here on the seal over the edge of our box. And we'll work it around so that it seats on the box. And now we can go ahead and get this installed. Now we can go ahead and insert our intake box into the factory location here. Set it down over the opening, and then we'll attach it using the original bolt. And we'll tighten that down with our 8mm socket. Now we can go ahead and install our large clamp over the end of our air filter, making sure, of course, that we've got access to the nut on the end. Now, once we've got that on, we'll go ahead and install our coupler on the other end of our inlet tube. Make sure that's seated properly. Then we'll take the larger of the 2 smaller clamps, slide that over the large end there, and then the smaller clamp will go on the other side. Now we can go ahead and insert our inlet tube into the air filter and slide our coupler over the throttle body, and then attach our PCV hose to the engine. Now, once we've got everything in place, now we can go ahead and tighten all of our clamps down here, here, and here using our 11mm socket. And we'll tighten up the clamp on our inlet box first. Now we can tighten up the 2 clamps on our coupler at the end of our intake tubes. Now we can plug in our temperature sensor, and finally we'll install our engine cover. And that wraps up our review and install of the AFE Momentum GT cold air intake with the Pro 5R oil filter with the black housing for your 11 to 23 5.7 HEMI without shaker hood. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Charger, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.